Hello and welcome to Okanagan Legends and Hauntings, your podcast for all things mysterious and unexplainable in the region. My name is Stephanie and this is
Georgia.
We're here today because we are huge lovers of paranormal content.
Oh, yes.
And that's why we wanted to start the podcast, because we consume so much of it and realize there's so much about the Okanagan that we don't know, and so much that is kind of spooky.
Yeah, things get a little spooky-ooky around here, or just in life in general.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I was born and raised in Kelowna, and there is just so much of the history of the region, not just Kelowna, but like the whole surrounding region.
Yeah.
That I just don't know. And the older I get, the more I realize how interesting it is to learn about the history of the place that you live.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to delve into the history of the Okanagan more. And I think it's really important. And I think it's so fun to look into the paranormal, the unexplainable, and what better way to pair it up in a podcast than with a little bit of history.
Yeah.
So why do you want to learn more about legends in the Okanagan, Georgia?
So I'm not from the Okanagan, actually. I come from Alberta. Yeah, Alberta.
Boo.
I do love BC. But I do miss the open acreages.
Yeah, the open sky.
Yeah, I don't know. The air feels a little different. I do like Alberta, but I'm happy to be in BC.
Great. Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I want to learn a little bit more about stuff. So you're more of a believer. I'm more skeptic. So
in terms of the possibilities of
hauntings and legends.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the basis of the podcast. But to me, I'm more like, okay, if there's evidence, let's explore it. But it has to be evidence.
Yeah, I think for myself, I'm just open to the what ifs.
Yeah.
I like to look into that, and I don't know, I just tend to believe more than not.
Yeah. I like to sort of try to debunk things.
Okay.
Because then, for me, if there is hard proof, then I'm like, hard proof. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of why I want to explore, because of the what ifs. Nice. But to me, the what ifs are like, but what if not?
Got it.
And to you, the what ifs are, what if?
What if so?
What if so? So, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Well, I am excited for the season that we have prepared.
Yes.
So I think we should just jump into our first topic.
I think so.
Which I have prepared to tell you all about. Something that is a favorite of cryptozoologists worldwide.
Yeah.
And, of course, we can't talk about the Okanagan without talking about Okanagan Lake's very own Ogopogo.
Ogopogo.
Yes. So, I've prepared a packet of information.
Ooh, very fancy.
Open her on up.
Oh, my. We're prepared here, folks. We're professional podcasters.
Supposedly. So, again, I was born in Kelowna, and if there is something that is emblematic of the Okanagan Valley, it's definitely the Ogopogo.
100%.
There are businesses named after it. Gift shops are lined with Ogopogo products. The Kelowna Rockets, the local hockey team, their logo is a depiction of the Ogopogo. There's, you know, the Ogopogo statue in Carey Park. It's just everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't really go around the Okanagan without hearing about the Okanagan, or you can't really go... You can't really go around the Okanagan without hearing about the Ogopogo. I feel like it's kind of just like one of those things that you experience when you come to the Okanagan.
Totally. If you've been to anywhere, any city along Okanagan Lake,
mascots, plushies, like stickers, magnets, anything you could think of that is like, oh, I want to bring some of these back home. Ogopogo.
Yeah, there's an Ogopogo.
Oh yeah,
Ogopogo version of that.
Oh yeah.
The concept of the Ogopogo is such a huge part of tourism in the area, but it is certainly not just a touristy gimmick pulled out of thin air. The Ogopogo has a long history in the First Nation storytelling in the area. But before we dive too deep, I want to ask you, Georgia, as someone not local to the area. First, you came here as a tourist.
Yeah.
So what do you remember hearing or seeing about the Ogopogo? Were you ever afraid to swim in the lake? Because there could be a lake monster?
Yeah. Well, I have to think back to the very, very, very first time that we came here. I was probably about 8. And so it was a long trek from Alberta. As we discussed, I'm from Alberta.
We get it. You're from Alberta.
Yeah, so after a very long trip, you're really excited as a kid to get in the water. So I don't think for the first couple of days I was scared until we strolled past the statue in Kerry Park. And we're like, interesting. There's just a dinosaur here. What is this? And I think we just asked someone, and they're like, "Oh, it's the Ogopogo." We're like, "Huh?" And they're like,
"Who's he? What's he?"
Yeah, the whoody what? And they discussed with us that it's the local legend, that there's a lake monster in the lake, and I think from that point on, we came back a couple times after, but it was definitely a bit nerve-wracking. I think we went to City Park in Kelowna, and it's kind of shallow until it's not. If you've been there, it just kind of drops off. And I was very scared that I would put my little goggles on, swim out there, and just come face to face with the Ogopogo. And so that kind of compounded each trip. I was kind of okay, will I see it?
Got it.
Are you there? Hello? And I even now to this day, every time we drive by the lake, I'm like, are you home? Are you gonna show yourself to me?
Anyone in there?
Yeah, and I don't know if I want it to show itself either, because then I'd be a little freaked out.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not scared to swim in the lake now. Definitely joke about it whenever I go. I'm like, oh, what if the Ogopogo nibbles on my toes? I don't know. So I definitely, as a kid and as a tourist coming to the Okanagan, it was definitely oh, never knew. Because you think of Scotland and Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
You don't really think that you'll have that here in Canada, right? So it's kind of, it's cool. I like it. I'm getting cozy in here.
Get cozy.
Okay.
All right.
Grab your popcorn, folks. Get cozy.
Well, this is a good time for you to get cozy because I want to jump into our interview segment. If we didn't reach out into the community for this podcast to find people who are more knowledgeable than us about these subjects, this would be a super lame and unhelpful podcast.
Yes.
So I'm super grateful to have spoken with Coralie at the Centueeps Heritage Museum in West Kelowna all about the Ogopogo. Take a look.
Roll that clip.
Okay, why has squeeze Coralie until the kakul nut? Can lem to put up. So hello, good day. My name is Coralie. I come from Windy Bay, also known as West Bank, and I'm grateful that you're here. I'm a docent here at the Centueeps Heritage Museum. Centueeps means how our tangible objects tell our story. A deeper interpretation means that we're having a conversation with an ancestor. So we really stress that everything you're seeing in here, we're all still using today. It just might look a little contemporary. So 1700s, we had settlers making their way over here. And as they're doing their dealings and hanging out with us, they see something a little spooky ooky in the water. and they tried to ask us about it, but of course there's a language barrier, and they go like, what is that? And we say that's an chachait, and they don't know what that means, and they go, okay, well, does that eat people? And we said no, and then we threw meat in the water in front of them. So understandably, those were some very unfortunate dots to connect, and the settlers were not convinced that this thing was not a flesh devouring sea monster, and that brought a bunch of monster hunters to the valley, and it also brought a lot of priests, because they're like, man, even the lake needs Jesus, get over here. And pretty soon, settlers had the idea that they needed to leave offerings into the lake. And so they're the ones that are like whipping chickens and pigs into the water, which we didn't have chickens or pigs. It's a spirit. It doesn't need those things. But what also happened too was like there's a McDougal fella who was going across the lake, and he's pulling his horses behind him, and they get sucked under the water. He freaks out, he cuts the horses loose, and they get sucked under the water, and he paddles as fast as he can to shore, and tells people about what happened. So obviously that just became like a huge attraction. A lot of people were coming here to find the lake monster. Further up the valley, there's where the Quails Gate Winery is. That's where Miss Susan Allison lived, and she also saw this giant serpentine creature in the water, and she asked us like, what is that? We're like, that's an chachait, and she goes, naitaka. We're like, good job, Allison. And then so from there, that's where that word naitaka came from, which is actually kind of sick. I saw it Armstrong Metal Fest. There's a band called Naitaka, and I really wanted to hear what they sounded like, but never had the chance to go out there. So yeah, don't worry guys, I'll Google you. But from there, that's where it really blew up. Now 1918 was when Kelowna got its first ferry, and people were really, really hesitant to get on this thing, because they're like, that goes on the water and we know what lives in the water. And folks were not getting onto this ferry, and so the ferry actually started advertising like anti-lake monster artillery. Whether or not they actually had that, I don't know, but there is documentation. It's super funny, but it just brought that big craze in. Now 1925 is going to roll around, and that's when we had some rock stars come to the valley. We had the English folk singers Clark Cumberland and Mark Strong. They made their way over from the UK, and they dropped their latest hit called the Funny Foxtrot. Now in this song, they are talking about a water goblin that plays the banjo. A water goblin that plays the banjo. And his name was Ogopogo. So that's where the name came from. Now, the folks dancing to this, they go, man, this bop slaps. And whatever the natives are calling that thing in the lake's too much of a mouthful. Let's just call it Ogopogo. And that is how a mascot was born. It started Ogopogo days. It started regattas. It was a mascot for apples, jerky, irrigation services, everything, to this day. And yeah, that's where we're at. In Chachait, it manifests itself as a serpentine creature with a head like a horse and antlers like a deer. Its mom had a really active social life, and it's actually very dark in color. And that's what we see. It swims kind of like serpentine in the water. And being a spirit, it doesn't actually want like chicken or pig. It wants sage. It wants tobacco. It loves to be sung to. The only flesh we ever knew of it to partake of was actually kokanee salmon. So people were never in danger. But if that's true, then why were our people throwing meat in the water? So from West Bank to Peachland or onto Summerland, this was known as like a coming of age area. And so our kids, before they go for their training into puberty, this is an area where you train for that. You learn how to wayfind, you learn how to hunt, you learn how to track, all those different things. West Bank was never really supposed to be a place that you'd live all year round. It was a stopover and then keep going. And so we still do this today. Your first kill doesn't belong to you. The first time you peg a deer or get a grouse or anything like that, you take a little piece of that meat and you pop it into the water. And it was never to appease our water spirit. It's to acknowledge all the blessings you have, your medicine, your home, your food. You only have that because of water. And now I get a lot of paranormal investigators, cryptozoologists, and they come in and they want me to say it's a plesiosaur. They want me to say it's a mutated sturgeon. I'm like, no, it's water. Its true form that you can see and touch all the time is the actual water itself. And water is such a sacred aspect within our culture because we were sustained by water, we're healed by water, we're cleansed by water, we're connected by water. So if we didn't brave the waterways, we would not be talking to each other right now. But also water teaches you to be mindful. So whatever you're doing upstream, you're going to be affecting somebody downstream. And that's the power of water. And that's really what it is. So when the whole mascot of Ogopogo came out, that's where it was a little damaging because people were terrified of a creature and they didn't fully understand that it's actually the water. And water is soothing and beautiful and wonderful, and everybody loves a beach day, but water also has the ability to hurt. It can burn me, it can cut me, it can drown me, freeze me, drown, all those different things. So water also has that gray line of like good and bad, and which is kind of neat because if we're water, then so are we. We're morally ambiguous as well. But that's what water teaches us too, is to see the water in me and the water in you, and then keeping your heart as water and finding grace and forgiveness. So that's what we call like a land law, and all those things kind of go in with our water declaration as well. So it's the understanding that our water is our relative, and not only that, it's our oldest relative. Nchacha'et is water. It can manifest itself as a spirit, but at its true actual form that you can see and touch is water. There's not just one. There's two spirits. There's Nchacha'et, which is our water spirit, and then there's Chacha'ulau. So Chacha'ulau is our rattlesnake, and that's our land spirit. And those two dig each other. So that's why it's been known that Rattlesnake Island is kind of like near the squally point where he often is going to be seen. Yeah, and likes chilling out with rattlesnakes. Thanks for hearing us out and learning about our water spirit and understanding that the interconnectedness of water between and people is incredibly close, and we need to start treating it as such. Remember that everything around us is alive. It's got a spirit and it remembers you, it knows you. And that's what we want. The real museum is out there on the land. It's not really going to be in a brick and mortar building, but it's a good start. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody.
Okay, so I front-loaded you with a lot of info.
It's a lot of info.
Yeah. But bearing all that in mind, what Coralie just shared,
yes.
Let's take it back to the beginning.
Okay.
And talk about origins.
Okay.
Of the Ogopogo. And let's go from there. So, the Ogopogo was not originally called or known as the Ogopogo, as you heard. The indigenous people living here, the Sioux people, pardon my pronunciation, passed the story of a spirit in the lake or of the lake down through generations. And when European settlers started coming to the area, there was a bit of a lost in translation moment about what that spirit is or was.
Right.
Online, I saw several different translations of the indigenous word. I'm going to try and pronounce it. Nachacha'ik. Something like that.
That sounds pretty good.
Coralie really tried to teach me how to pronounce it, and I did my best, but she was so patient and so kind to me, but I don't think I pronounced it right.
Yeah, you gotta get like a good in there. Yeah, it's quite hard.
Yeah. Anyway, so online I saw a few different translations of this word. meaning lake demon, spirit of the lake, something in the water. Not lake monster, necessarily.
I think with what we've heard from Coralie, spirit of the lake, seems like the best translation, right?
Yeah. I would tend to agree.
Yeah.
Maybe I should defer to someone else on that.
Yeah.
So the name Ogopogo actually came about because of a folk song that was toured around the area. Like, isn't that so funny? Like, it just truly was a pop culture moment.
Yeah.
That made its mark on history. And this
quite a lot.
Yeah, and a seemingly unrelated story.
Yeah.
Because as we heard, the song was about a goblin.
Right.
A banjo playing goblin.
Yeah.
And now we've just tied that in with the local history.
We're like, actually, Ogopogo.
Yeah, so let's take that and put it here, and now we've got the Ogopogo lake monster in Okanagan Lake. Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's how history is made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how the name Ogopogo specifically came
about, yeah.
But it definitely stuck.
Yeah, totally stuck. And then I think it's kind of like fun to say it. Like,
it's
Ogopogo.
It is kind of a catchy name, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when people think lake monster, and you mentioned this already, first thing that comes to mind,
scary.
I was going to say Loch Ness monster.
Oh, I missed the mark.
So in my research, I thought it was so funny. There are some people out there, or were out there, that believed that the Loch Ness monster and the Ogopogo were like the same thing. Like, it would swim from Scotland to BC. And, is Loch Ness a freshwater body of water?
Isn't it like salt water?
I don't know.
But also,
I don't know how, I can't claim to be an expert on waterways and geography, but I don't think that
I was going to say,
maths.
I was going to say, doth thou not know how a valley works?
Yeah.
Like,
So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Just so we're clear, different things.
Yeah.
That one's Scottish.
Yeah.
Ours is Canadian,
Yes,
guys.
yes.
Come on.
If we're running with this theory of a lake monster, what could the Ogopogo be, if not lake monster?
Yeah.
So some people say it's a sturgeon, which is a fish that can grow to be very large, like truck-sized.
Dare I say, ugly.
Whoa!
Like, not a good-looking fish. They're kind of gray and big and kind of just like, hi. I don't think they're ugly. No offense to the fish.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to hear this podcast.
I'm telling.
Don't sell the fish. What are you going to do? Stick a straw down there?
Well, what if I did?
Don't do it. I'm just saying, they're not pleasing to the eye.
We'll discuss this later.
Fine.
Other people say it's a type of marine dinosaur called a plesiosaur.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Dinosaur in the lake.
Dinosaurs still exist.
Okay, I feel like that's a hot take.
Dinosaurs still exist. Sharks, alligators.
Are they actually dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Or are they
They're
just
descendants of dinosaurs.
Well,
they're and I saw this on Instagram Reels. There's a prehistoric bird in Florida somewhere. It looks freaky.
like a dodo bird?
I don't know. A heron of something. And it's like,
I think
it's also not pretty. It looks prehistoric. But
no animal is safe from George's wrath in this podcast.
hey, dogs are cute. Cats are cute. Cute animals are cute. But when you look prehistoric, it kind of freaks me out because I'm like, what? But, hot take, those are dinosaurs. They existed for very long.
Okay. So, do you think a plesiosaur?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think so.
I'm glad we can agree on that at least.
No. Plesiosaur, extinct. Alligator, alive.
Okay. Maybe we'll fact check dinosaurs equal alligators and sharks.
Editor me. put a yes or a no on the screen right now if alligators, crocodiles, and sharks are in fact dinosaurs. I will look this up later.
Okay.
I'm dying on this hill.
I remember going to the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller when I was younger. And in one of their exhibits, they had this skeleton strung up from the ceiling. And my dad pointed to it and was like, that's what they think the Ogopogo is. And I was like, what? Like, mind blown. Like, that's in the lake I swim in?
Yeah, like the child wonder of like, huh?
It would be cool if it was a dinosaur.
For sure. Actually, that would be a huge scientific discovery.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, huge.
Speaking of childhood understanding of the Ogopogo, I also grew up hearing that the Ogopogo lived near Rattlesnake Island.
Oh, yes.
So if you don't know, that's an island that you can see if you're driving on Highway 97 between, like, what is that, Peachland and Summerland? Kind of like straight across the lake. There's a little island there. And that makes so much sense, hearing what Coralie had to say about the other type of spirit in First Nations tradition. Yeah. One being the water spirit and one being like a rattlesnake spirit. The land spirit.
The land spirit, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was such a cool tie-in.
One thing I will say about Rattlesnake Island is it's actually kind of cool because you'll be driving down the highway and you'll see it in the water and then you actually kind of lose it for a second. Because when you look straight across the lake and you're trying to find where it is, it blends in so well with the land behind it. Like, you cannot tell. And then you kind of go past the point of it being in line, and then you see it again. It's just kind of like, sometimes I try to find it, and I challenge myself. I'm like, I think it's there. But yeah, challenge yourselves. If you do see it, if you take that road, look out, find Rattlesnake Island, and see if you can keep your eye on it. Maybe not while you're driving, actually. But if you're a passenger, see if you can, like, keep finding it in the land because it actually blends in like so well. I lose it all the time.
An optical illusion.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So back to explanations for what the Ogopogo could be from all these sightings that people report. Some people say it's just a wave.
That's so lame.
I know, it sounds lame, but you know what?
It's true.
It actually corresponds exactly with what our interview segment
That's true.
said.
That is true.
Where the spirit is the water.
Yeah. And also presents itself to different people. So if you look at a wave and you see Ogopogo, maybe you are.
Other things that people have explained these Ogopogo sightings to be are pieces of driftwood. Yeah. Another kind of like wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Kind of an explanation.
It is true though. We do have wood in the lake. Like we've used the lake a lot for like logging and stuff. So there is like wood in the lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
A fun fact I learned about while researching is that there are river otters in Okanagan Lake. So some people do say that it's possible that these river otters could be what people are seeing when they think they see the Ogopogo.
That's so cute.
Right? I mean, I know they're called river otters, but I guess maybe it's just like a freshwater otter.
Yeah. So I always think like otters are like in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't say I've ever seen one here.
No.
But hey, I'm not on the lake all the time. I don't know where otters hang out.
You should infiltrate.
Yeah, I should look into that.
Figure that out. Come on. Bring me a report by Monday. Yeah, that's super cool. I could definitely see like a string of like river otters all together. Because like otters hold hands when they go to sleep. Because they don't want to like float away from their friends. So
cute. Yeah,
like I could imagine like a string of them sleeping.
If you don't know exactly what you're looking at,
you
could definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's super cute.
And probably like the lamest of all suggestions of what the Ogopogo sightings could be. It's just doctored footage.
Boo!
Yeah, we live in an age. We live in an age where it's easier than ever to
AI.
Yeah, to fake evidence, change photos or video or audio to say something or be something that it isn't. Yeah. So definitely could account for some of the photos and video evidence that's out there. But I like to think that people, whether or not there is a large creature in the Okanagan Lake, that people are reporting in good faith, thinking that they really did see something worth reporting.
I think that's so lame for like a quick, like, I want to be famous for 5 seconds. You'd be like, lake monster.
Yeah, I know.
Here you go. Like, don't do that.
Get a life. Sorry.
Whoa!
Is that salacious to say?
Folks, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's the lamest option. Because it's like, I don't know, then it kind of takes away from people who maybe actually do have a photo. But now people are like, well, it's fake.
Yeah.
But what if it's real?
So now I do want to circle back a little bit more to kind of the spirit of what Coralie had to say.
Yeah.
How the Ogopogo was not really ever meant to be portrayed as a lake monster.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most interesting part of my research in this episode.
Yeah.
A lot of the research online that I'd done did not share like a First Nations perspective at all, and it really was coming from a cryptozoological perspective, or just like a scientific perspective on like what animals could or could not be in the Okanagan Lake.
Yeah.
So I think it was really informative for me to hear from Coralie about the great misunderstanding of what the Ogopogo meant to the Indigenous people here.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think I didn't get a chance to speak with Coralie, but I was there to say hi. Just an amazing person. Like, it's really important that we educate ourselves on the things that we're trying to speak on, or even teach people on, like we're doing here for this podcast. Because, like, I kind of had the attitude of, like, why would I speak on something that I don't know? You know? And, like, I don't want to, like, construe any messaging or, be disrespectful to any cultures. So I think it's very important that we educate ourselves, and, like, if you have any questions about, like, things happening in the Okanagan, always go to, like, a museum. Like, museum people are sick.
Yeah.
I'm a history nerd. I love history. I think it's so cool. It's very important in my mind for us to understand where we come from and how we got to here. Because we weren't just building houses like this one day. We grow as humans and as a society, as a community over time. And it's super cool to see how we started. And then, like, how we get here. Behind the cameras, there's lights and, electricity. And this is an LED light bulb that we can change the color temperature of. Like, it's so cool to just, like, understand how we got here and understand our relationships with each other. So I think it's cool to, like, dive into different cultures and understand them deeply, because that's what connects us, that's what binds us, that's what makes us humans. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I think that there were so many interesting facts that I got to learn, especially about the concept of an offering going into the lake from the Ogopogo. That was something I definitely read about online, about how Indigenous people were giving offerings to the lake, and how that totally wasn't the case at all. It was
construed.
Yeah, well, it was actually like a coming of age ritual or like ceremony type deal.
Event,
where the first kill goes into the lake as kind of like
to give thanks.
Like a remembrance kind of a moment. So crazy how that just like got lost in translation.
I think that happens with a lot of things. Like, I think a lot of things, they do get lost in translation, but I think also people throughout history have a tendency to turn things into a way that's just easier for them to understand. I think that's a very human thing.
Yeah.
When we don't understand something, we just like kind of make something up so we can understand it better. But in doing so, we kind of like damage the original story, right? So, or the original meaning even. So.
Yeah, talking about trying to make something easier for our own understanding makes me think about the mispronunciation of the First Nations word for Ogopogo.
Yeah.
Do I try to say it again?
Wait. There's like 2 chas.
Yeah.
Nachacha itk.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going from that to Naitaka, which is similar but not the same.
Yeah, very
similar
different.
sounds, but not the same.
And then from that to Ogopogo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super just like, hey, this is easier for us. Yeah.
Was there anything in the interview that stood out to you?
I liked what Corley said about water, how it connects us all. Like if animals didn't drink the water or the crops didn't get water, like we wouldn't be able to eat or live or do anything. Like water, like we have to drink water to survive, and like everything else that helps us survive needs water as well. So it really is something that like binds us all together. Yeah,
and how water is life, and water can heal, but water can also hurt.
Yeah, water's super dangerous. I'm originally from South Africa, and that's one of the things that we always talked about is like you have to respect the water. You have to understand like tides can change very, very quickly. So you have to respect it, and as soon as you feel a little spooked in the water, like it's probably best to get out because it's just instinct sometimes. So
yeah. So I think that reverence for the water, how it can help but also harm, is a good way to go about life and to remember and respect the world around us.
Yeah, I think there's a really good balance with everything in life. There's always that balance of things are good, but they're also bad. So just like be careful.
Agreed. And
respect.
Yes.
Respect things.
Yes. Yeah. I love that how this episode started was the concept of like, boo, lake monster.
Yeah.
But it's kind of coming to a close with the idea that we should respect and revere nature.
Yeah.
And that's the Ogopogo.
That's the Ogopogo. That's the first episode, y'all.
Yeah. Is that like or like, did you expect the episode to go this way?
Not at all. I thought it was going to be like, boo, scary. And it's like the total opposite.
Like, actually,
like, it's the water.
Yeah, there is no lake monster.
There's no lake monster, it's the water. And it's a very deep story.
Yeah, so I would really recommend if you want to learn more about the Ogopogo and you happen to be in the Okanagan area, visiting the Sensweeps Heritage Museum in West Kelowna. They had so much interesting information, not just about the Ogopogo, but a lot of different facets of First Nations history in the area. So thank you so much again to Corley at the Sensweeps Heritage Museum.
Thank you.
And
also, at the museum, they had really cool art.
Amazing art.
Like really, like mind-blowingly awesome art. So if you love art, like also just like go check it out. It's so sick.
And thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Okanagan Legends and Hauntings.
You right there. I'm looking at you.
Thank you.
Look at you in that shirt. You look so cute.
So thank you very much. And we hope you'll join us next time for another story of a legend or a haunting in the Okanagan.
We'll see you next time.